Here comes another dynamic bead bracelet if you feel you haven't had enough. Created and braided together, it's the bead fishtail cuff. A fun bead design that's so easy to make it's insane, with a super cool look and created with 3 bead chains. So get ready for a tutorial that will fulfill your creative needs. Be sure to give this video a like and enjoy this episode of TurboBeads. Here's a list of everything you need to make the fishtail cuff bead bracelet. Creating the fishtail bead bracelet is pretty simple. The first thing you'll need to do is to take 4 feet of string with a bit of stretch to it. Now you'll add 14 beads to that string. Once you have those beads on the string, you'll take both ends of string, match them up, and push those beads toward the center of the string, ensuring that we have the same amount of string to use on both sides. Be sure and trying your best at keeping the beads in the center of the string. With the beads on the string and 2 ends of string to use, we'll take one end of the string and add a single bead to that string, taking our other end of string and running it through that bead as well, going in the opposite direction. When you get that string through both ends of that bead, you'll pull both ends of the string until you've reached the top, bringing the beads together in the shape of a loop. This is what it should look like. What we are doing is creating a chain of loops. This will be the first link of the bead chain. Next steps will be repetitive and just as easy. Let's take one end of the string and add 7 beads to that string. When you have those beads on the string, you'll run those beads toward the top. Next, we will take our other end of string and we're going to add 7 beads to that string as well. Once you have those beads on the string, you're going to run those beads to the top, just as we did with the other side. With the 7 beads on each side of the strings, you're going to take one end of the string and add a single bead to that string. Next, taking your other end of string and running it through that bead as well, going in the opposite direction, pulling both ends of the string until that bead reaches the top, creating another loop of the bead chain. Continue repeating these same steps when creating additional loops for the bead chain by adding 7 beads to one end of the string, running those beads to the top, taking your other end of string and adding 7 beads to that string as well, running those beads to the top. With 7 beads on each end of the string, you're going to take one end of the string and add a single bead to that string, taking your other end of string and running it through that bead as well, going in the opposite direction, pulling both ends of the string until you've reached the top, bringing the beads together in the shape of a loop. We will continue creating these bead loops until we have it at a length that'll fit the size of a wrist. Remember, it's 7 beads on one end of the string, 7 beads on the other end of the string, then 1 bead in the middle on both strings that'll close the gap of the loop. Once you've reached the 5th loop, which should be long enough to fit around the wrist, as usual, you'll add 7 beads to one end of the string and adding 7 beads to the other end of the string as well. So instead of adding any additional beads to the string, we'll take both ends of string and tie them together to complete the loop. Let's go ahead and tie both ends of string together with a knot, bringing all of those beads together. Be sure that your knot is tied nice and tight, ensuring that everything stays together and locked in place. Feel free to tie the knot as many times as you feel is necessary. Remember, we want the knot to be tight and secure. Once your knot is tied, you'll carefully cut off those tied loose ends of string, and you've completed a chain of loops. As you can see, this is what it should look like, with a total of 5 loops on the chain. But in order to make the fishtail cuff, we'll need to make 2 more identical chain of loops of different colors. Once you've completed 3 different chains of loops, then you're ready to combine them all to make the fishtail. Let's go ahead and take 2 chains. Now, you're going to run the first white chain over the first red loop, just like this. What we are doing is braiding these chains together to give it its unique shape. Next, we will take the white chain and run it through the second loop of the red chain. Once you get the white chain through the second red loop, be sure to pull the beads all the way through, and it should look like this so far. With the red and white chains braided together, we are now ready to add the blue chain of loops to the mix. Take the blue chain and let's go ahead and run the first blue chain over the first loop of the red loop. Now that the first loop is linked on, we will take the blue chain and run it through the first white loop and the second red loop. You should see this gap right here. When you get that chain all the way through that gap, you'll pull the chain of beads all the way through and you'll start to see the pattern. As you can see here, this is exactly how it should look so far. Let's continue braiding these chains together. Take the white chain, which is the middle chain, and run it through the second loop of the blue chain, which is here at the bottom. When you get that chain all the way through that blue loop, pull the white chain all the way through. With the white chain all the way through, you should see the gap here. Now you'll take the red chain, which is on the top, and run it through that gap of beads, which is the second loop of the white chain and the second loop of the blue chain. When you get that red chain all the way through that gap, pull those beads all the way through and you'll see the pattern. Keeping these chain of beads aligned will make things easier to manage. Just as we've done before, go ahead and grab the white chain, which should be the chain in the middle. Now, let's run that white chain through the third loop of the red chain, which should be the chain at the bottom. When you get that white chain through the third red loop, be sure to pull the white chain all the way through. With the beads in the correct formation, you should see the gap right here. Now take the blue chain and run it through that gap of beads, which is the second loop of the white chain and the third loop of the red chain. When you get that blue chain all the way through that red and white loops, pull the chain all the way through and you should see the desired pattern form again. As you can see, it should be coming together pretty nicely. Let's keep it going. Go ahead and take the white chain, which should be the chain in the middle, and run it through the third loop of the blue chain, which is also the chain at the bottom. When you get that white chain through the third blue loop, pull the white chain all the way through. Remember, if you keep those beads aligned and in formation, it should make things a bit easier to manage. Now, we're going to take the red chain, which is here at the top, and run that red chain through the gap of beads, which is also the third loop of the white chain and the third loop of the blue chain. Get the red chain all the way through that gap and pull the beads all the way through. Once you have the red chain pulled all the way through the gap, again, you should see the beads in the desired shape. Let's go ahead and straighten everything out and take the white chain, which is the chain in the middle. Now, we will run that white chain through the fourth loop of the red chain. As you can see, the red chain is here at the bottom. Remember to be sure that you pull the chain all the way through so that the beads are in the correct places. With the white chain all the way through, let's go ahead and take the blue chain here on top and run that chain through the gap of beads, which is the third loop of the white chain and the fourth loop of the red chain. As I've said before, be sure to pull the chain all the way through the gap of beads and you'll see the beads form the correct pattern. With the blue chain pulled all the way through, we're ready to braid the next. Once again, grab the white chain, which is in the middle. Run that white chain through the fourth loop of the blue chain. With the white chain through that blue loop, pull it all the way through. From here, you should be able to see the gap for the next part. Take the red chain and run it through the gap, which will be the fourth loop of the white chain and the fourth loop of the blue chain as well. Pull that red chain all the way through the gap, and once again, you'll see the pattern shape. Now, we are almost at the end of braiding. From here, let's take the white chain and run it through the fifth loop of the red chain, being sure to pull the white chain all the way through, which you'll be able to see the gap for the next chain. Take the blue chain and run it through that gap, which is the fourth loop of the white chain and the fifth loop of the red chain. Pull it all the way through and you'll see those beads in formation. Now you will just take the white chain and run it through the fifth loop of that blue chain, and you should have the white loop on the end. Be sure that your loops are sticking out, tighten the other beads, and it should be looking like this. Now that we have all three chains braided together, we are almost finished and need to make it wearable. In order to make it wearable, you can use some additional string or some ribbon, which I'll be using ribbon for this one. Now, you can run that ribbon through the loops of each end of the bracelet. Next, you'll tie those two ends together with a knot or a bow, which will add some style to this design. Be sure that your knot is nice and secure, ensuring it stays on when worn. As you can see here, I'm creating a nice little bow for this cuff. Once your bow is all tied up, then your bead fishtail cuff bracelet is now complete. And there you have it, another bead bracelet that was fun to make. Hopefully this tutorial was helpful and you can create one just as great. If there's anything you'd like to add, requests, or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you are new, or you just haven't already, don't forget you can always subscribe if you want to be notified for more bead tutorials just like this one. Hoping you'll tune in for the next one to fulfill your creative needs. Until next time, wear it, share it. Thanks for watching TurboBeads.